Good morning, traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for February 25th, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a great afternoon and evening, ready for another day in this market where uncertainty seems to be just the word of the week. We're facing some big data points coming our way. We've got a big earnings report coming our way. We've got uncertainty kind of spreading out around the world. And our market just doesn't seem to know exactly what to do with it. So let's take a look at what we've got going on, or what happened overnight. First off, Asian markets down across the board. Pretty ugly moves in those Asian markets. We had Australia down 0.68%. The Nikkei was down 1.39%. South Korea was down last night, and despite the fact that they kind of came out with an unexpected rate cut, but it continued to sell off. India was down, Hong Kong was down 1.32%, and Shanghai down by 0.80%. If we take a look at European markets this morning, very interesting here that European markets are all modestly in positive territory. We've got the DAX up 16 points, up 0.07%. FTSE is up 31 points, up 0.36%, and the CAC is up a whopping $2.72, 0.03% in the CAC. If we look at U.S. futures this morning, well, they're a little bit on the flat side. They have been lower this morning, but they're trying to come back up at the moment. Right now, we've got the Dow futures down 10 points. S&P 500 futures down $2.75, and NASDAQ futures down $38. So a little bit of bearishness, but the pre-market pump is already underway, trying to pick it back up here. Let's take a look at what's going on in the oil market. If we take a look at XLE here, our producers, trying to hold up in a bullish upside trend, as you can see, just trying to hang in there. Little area of support in here, and right now we've got oil just a little bit lower here this morning, down 25 cents. Excuse me, that's incorrect, down 2.5 cents at 70.67 a barrel. So keep an eye on that. If we take a look at Brent crude, Brent's a little bit lower as well at 74.67 a barrel. And natural gas, that had a really rough day yesterday, picking up here just a little bit this morning, up 4 cents. If we take a look at cryptos here this morning, well, boy, Bitcoin having a real tough day today. Bitcoin at the moment down $5,362 a coin this morning, 5.73%, and Ether is down a whopping 9.30% this morning, $244, almost $245 a coin this morning. So red across the board in those cryptos. Something to be keeping an eye on. If we take a look at bond yields this morning, well, our bonds, they've been bouncing around here a little bit. We've got just a little bit of downside and a little bit of upside in them on a mix. If we look at the 2-year coming in at 4.12, the 10-year is at 4.34, and the 30-year is 4.61. If we just a second here, I wanted to bring up the US dollar. There we go. If we take a look at the dollar, you can see the dollar is weakening just a little bit here this morning. Right now, the dollar is down just about 7 cents this morning on a whole. So keep a close eye on that. Let's take a look at precious metals here this morning. Precious metals, even as the dollar is falling just slightly, we've got gold running just a little bit lower right now, down $8.80 an ounce. Really seems to be in more of a consolidation in there. And silver also moving lower, down a little over 7 cents an ounce here this morning, and looks a little bit more precarious there, as maybe more of a rollover could be happening in silver. If we take a look at copper, however, copper's trying to make a little bit of bounce here this morning, trying to catch a little bit of price support. We've got platinum about flat on the day, and palladium is slightly lower, continuing to see a little bit of weakness there in palladium. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, everyone, we want to look at these charts without bias. We want to just look at them closely about what they are looking like. We want to look at both the bearish and the bullish side, and even that potential of a sideways move here in the market. So shake off that bias. Let's dig in here just a little bit. If we take a look at the diamonds chart, obviously we've got a good hold of some price support here in the chart. Nice little hold in here at the moment. You can see it's a little bit on the precarious side, though. If we were to slip off this edge, if those bears had anything more to say in here, and we were to slip off of this edge, falling down into this area, we run into a little bit of concern because we've got a little teeny tiny bit of price action support right there. And then we would fall into a potential gap. Now, obviously, we could catch some price support here, but we've got a potential gap that could be filled. And that's one of the problems when we race up in these gapping moves and leave so many gaps behind. Oftentimes, gaps get filled. So watch carefully here. If those bears were to get going, you can see we may have some painful moves to the downside if those bears were to get going. Now, if those bulls can hold on to this price support in here, well, I see every reason to believe that they could push back up in a bit of a relief rally. We tried here yesterday to pop through the top of that big black candle and just couldn't quite get her done. Kind of faded back at the end of the day. But if we can get that going here and we can pop up through there, then I think we have a chance we might run up into here and test the resistance of this level right in here. See if we can break through that big black candle here and pushing on up into this next level of resistance. So watch that carefully. Now, unfortunately, when we take a look at our moving averages in here, we have that 50-day moving average kind of blocking our pathway. So we're going to need something to provide a good level of push in here to get us to pump on through there. Perhaps we can get it in earnings or economic data today, but watch that carefully. If we were to take a look at our SPY, well, SPY is still in a pretty good place. It's not horrible anyway. Trying to bounce here in the pre-market this morning, but one of the things we want to notice is we did slip through that 50-day moving average, and now the effort will be trying to get back up through there. So watch that carefully. If we were to come up and hit that 50-day resistance and show bearishness, then I would see that possibility that we could move on lower. And taking a look here, if we were to press any lower here, you can see breaking down below here, well, the next area lower is going to be down here in that chart. You do want to notice that this upside trend that I had drawn in there, we've kind of given that up. This downtrend break that we had right here, we've also given that up. So we're adding up multiple levels of price resistance up in here around that 50-day moving average. So we're going to need something special in here to maybe push us up through all of that congestion in the chart. If the bears have anything to say here, well, you can see we've got a little bit more easy move to the downside at the moment, so watch that closely. Now the QQQ had a really rough day yesterday, and as you can see, whoops, I didn't mean to go to a 15-minute chart. As you can see here, we've got a breakdown through that 50-day moving average yesterday. So any rally back up here, we're going to want to be watching that 50-day moving average area up in here, and it just happens to correspond with that price resistance of this white candle right here, right in that area. So we'll want to watch that. If we can get a little bit of bullish action going in here, a pushback up into there, test that 50-day, and of course popping through there, of course, could send us on higher up into this area of resistance. Keeping in mind that here, once again, we have this downtrend break right in here, we have that uptrend break, and this pretty substantial area of price resistance that runs back over here quite a ways. You can see there's an accumulation of resistance in there, so we're going to need something pretty inspiring to push us through. Perhaps it's going to be NVIDIA earnings coming up on Thursday. You never know. We'll see if that's going to be enough to drive us through that area and bring some confidence back into tech. If we take a look at our our IWM also moving lower here. You can see yesterday we pushed on down through the 200-day moving average. So now we have that complication in here on IWM that we would have to break back through that 200-day. We've got some resistance up here to be thinking about on a pushback to the upside. If those bulls can get through there, then we can work our way back up into some additional areas of resistance in the chart. See if we can come back up toward this downtrend. If the bears, however, have anything more to say, you can see falling off of this edge right here could move us fairly sharply lower in IWM. That's breaking on down, following that downtrend, making new lows in the market, confirming that downtrend. So watch that carefully on the Russell, struggling quite a bit here in those indexes. If we take a look at our VIX, well, our VIX yesterday continued its rally to the upside, closing the day just underneath 19 handles in the VIX. We'll want to watch that closely today. If the bears continue to have anything to say, keep an eye on this resistance right in here. We tried to test that yesterday and pulled back from it, but a pop through there could certainly raise a little bit of concern, and certainly it's raising the cost of all options that we trade because of that implied volatility increase here in the market. So be really careful, watch that closely, plan carefully with this uncertainty in the market. I continue to expect some big point moves are possible. So just be prepared. If those bulls have anything to say, then we start breaking this back down, pushing back down into this area. Notice we've got that little downtrend area in here. We could test a support. Little area in here we could test a support if those bulls can really get going in driving these indexes back higher. Now if we take a look at our T20s, our T2122, I know everyone would like to say that we've got to bounce in here. We've got to get going to the upside here. We've moved so much. We're certainly oversold at this point, and honestly, that's not the case. If we can get a little bullish action in here, we've got some good help from yesterday with that little hook up here in T2122. So if they can get going in here on the bullish side, we certainly have plenty of upside room. But I want you to notice, even with all of the selling that we've had, all of those big moves in here, well, we still have more room that we could move to the downside. So be prepared for that possibility if those bears have anything to say here today. And unfortunately, I think it could still be pretty painful to the downside. So watch that carefully. And then if we take a look at our T2108, well, our percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average slipped just a little tiny bit yesterday. But once again, showing us that little hooking pattern here, that hockey stick down in here. And if those bulls can get going, well, that would certainly be an opportunity to see them push back up towards some of these resistance levels here in the chart. See if we can break back up toward that 50% area of T2108. If the bears have anything to say, well, you will want to notice that we did slip down through that area of price support. There's a big opening here for them to move on lower if they have any energy in them whatsoever. And if we take a look at T2107, very much the same, trying to show that little bit of a hook, that little hockey stick down here to get things going, but we did break this support yesterday. So if those bears have anything to say, it's certainly easy to see that we can drop down into this most recent low in T2107. Only about 41% of the stocks holding above their 200-day moving average. A good pushback up though, and we've got some resistance in here that we'll want to be watching around 46%. If we take a look at our T2101, T2101 continued to have that breadth moving up yesterday. So it's nice to see a little bit of breadth coming back into the market. Unfortunately, I fear the majority of that breadth right now is that uncertainty and a little bit on the bearish leaning breadth. So watch that closely here as well. We'll see if that can pick up here on any bullish side, but so far hasn't been real successful in doing that. It's kind of those bears still fighting in here for a little bit of dominance. Let's take a look at our economic calendar for today. And our economic calendar, well, we've got a few things in here that we want to be paying attention to. We're going to start off today. We've got some Fed speak in here. We've got a Case-Shiller home price in here. They're not giving us any estimates in here, which is interesting on the consensus. The 20-city adjusted year over year, they're suggesting that's going to go higher by 0.4, by 1/10. So kind of keep an eye on this number. Seems like consensus estimates aren't working here very well at the moment. We've got FHFA house price index in here today. We've got a consumer confidence number. They're looking for a 103. That would be a decline from the 104.1 in here on consumer confidence. So watch that one. That could be a little bit bullish or bearish depending on how that number comes in. Richmond Fed manufacturing number, we haven't been getting all the best of those manufacturing numbers here lately, so watch that carefully. Bond auctions in here, Barkin 5-year note auction, and money supply. As you plan forward into Wednesday, remember we've got mortgage applications, more Fed speak, new home sales, petroleum status will be in there, some bond auctions as well, with additional Fed speak in there. Survey of business uncertainties could be interesting tomorrow as well. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings calendar is a pretty busy one here this morning. Let me grab the earnings here. You might want to pause the video, take a screenshot of this, because there's no way I can cover all of these in the video this morning, so keep an eye on that. So far this morning, we've already heard from Home Depot, and Home Depot beat on estimates, but it's not looking so good here in the pre-market. Apparently, conference call didn't go as well as the earnings estimates did, so watch that. We've got other things like American Tower that we'll be reporting this morning. We've got things like BMO. We've got CECO, DK is reporting. We're going to hear from TILE, IGT. We've got Donut. Who doesn't like Krispy Kreme? But apparently feeling a little bit bearish after that report. We've got Planet Fitness in here reporting. XHR and SMTR. Whoops. I must have a ticker issue. I've got to check that one. So then this afternoon, we're going to hear from things like Sam Adams will be reporting this afternoon. CZR, a little bit more casino in there. CPNG could be a real interesting to pay attention to. CAVA will be in there. So quite a few reports here this afternoon, including WDay and ZIP. So watch those for this afternoon. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please do me that favor, clicking that subscribe button on YouTube and also clicking that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. Thank you so much for everyone who does do that and takes the time to click that thumbs up button and leave a brief comment. That helps the channel probably as much as anything else. It's the engagement with the video. So thank you everyone who does take the time to do that. I know it gets monotonous day after day after day, but remember, even in putting an emoji in there counts as engagement with the video. So thank you so much everyone for those who do take the time to do that. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up for today. But remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market. And remember that the volatility that we are seeing right now could expand pretty dramatically and very quickly. So we're getting these big point moves up here. It is a little bit of indicative of a top, but we'll see if we can power on through that with continued earnings. And of course, that big earnings report of NVIDIA coming up here on Thursday, we'll want to be paying really close attention, on Wednesday. I think I said Thursday before as well. On Wednesday, keep an eye on that because that could be a game changer here in the tech sector, whether we're going to really turn around and become quite bullish or go bearish. Now, a couple places I want to remind everyone is those potentials of inverse ETFs. In a situation like this, you might want to be placing a little bit of time or putting a little bit of time into building a watch list of inverse ETFs. We're starting to move back up in here, and you can see this is RWM, which is a single wide on it's 1 for 1 on the Russell, pushing up through here, breaking through that 50-day, holding that, zooming straight up here to our 200-day. Might find a little tiny bit of resistance for a little rest or pull back in there, but I would watch for a potential next opportunity. If you want more leverage in there, take a look at TZA, looking very much the same, but this is triple leveraged on the Russell. Take a look at SQQQ. SQQQ trying to come up through the downtrend in here. We're seeing a potential break of the 50-day moving average. This is our rounded bottom breakout potential, popping through, hold in here, and then we would look for that upside move in there on SQQ. Keep an eye on that. PSQ, there's a lot of potential ways to trade this, whether you want leverage or no leverage in here would be another one to be watching. Take a look at DOG. DOG breaking up through its 50-day moving average. Again, rounded bottom breakout pattern. If we could rest and hold in here, then we'd look for that next opportunity to the upside of that bearish wave to the downside here in our indexes. So watch that closely on DOG, or you could take a look at DXD as well. Take a look at SH for the S&P 500. Once again, breaking through that 50-day moving average. We'll see if it holds that higher low in there or not. But watch that carefully here. If we are rolling over, it'd be a good idea to have some of these in your list so that you can take advantage of those market moves. Let's take a look at some other things to be paying attention to. First off, we're seeing some Well, some pain here in the airlines starting to come into play. We've got DAL rolling over here. So Delta Airlines pushing to the downside. This is a shorting pattern here, fell through. Any rally back up to that downtrend would set up that next opportunity. We could also consolidate over to that downtrend here in the chart. Now, keeping in mind there's good area of price support right in here, but if that were to fail, you can see how that could be really damaging to that chart. We've got Jets also making that ugly move here to the downside, breaking through in this downtrend here. There's your short pattern breaking through a pretty substantial area of support here this morning, and watch that carefully. So look at those airlines. You might take a look at UAL, also showing a little bit of that concern to the downside. Take a look at NDAQ. NDAQ, lower high in here, setting right on price support. If we were to have a little bit more bearish action in here, you could see that falling through that area pretty easily, adding to the pain here on that chart and creating a new low for that downtrending channel. So watch that carefully in NDAQ. Things like CPay moving down, breaking the support here in the chart from that lower high. We're getting a lot of these patterns in here starting to show that pressure of that reversal to the downside. So be careful in here. Don't just assume that we're going to zoom straight back up here in the market. There is so much uncertainty out there that we do have that possibility that we could zoom right back up, but we also have that little bit of concern here starting to show up in a bunch of these bearish charts. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all bearish at all. When we take a look at some of these defensive type stocks out here, take a look at Altria. Now, I'm bringing this up, but I do have a bias in here because I am holding Altria, and it's doing really well here at the moment. Keep an eye on this. A good dividend paying stock, a little bit more in that defensive sector area, looking good. Nice little push up here. Take a look at Mondelez. Mondelez continuing to stretch to the upside. Again, good defensive stock. I wouldn't want to chase it in this move up here. It's a little bit overextended in the short term. I need a rest or pullback to look at that trade, but something to pay attention to. We're seeing things like Wendy's coming up in here. Now, this is more of the consumer cyclical, but another good dividend payer here, really pushing to the upside here, breaking that downtrend. You can see pushing up through its 50-day yesterday. If we take a look at things like Campbell's Soup, nice little stretch here to the upside on that defensive stock. Pushing through that 50. Any rest or pullback would set up an opportunity there. We're seeing things in like grocery stores like Kroger holding in there nice and strong, could be setting up for that next move. Starbucks in that defensive sector in here, trying to move out to trend here a little bit, could set up that next move to the upside. So there's a lot of these stocks in this defensive food area, consumer staples area looking quite well. Take a look at the utilities sector. XLU holding in a bullish pattern, trying to show some upside in here. And if we jump into that entire sector, there's some pretty good looking charts out there that I think are worth paying attention to. Take a look at Southern Company really making a nice move here to the upside after breaking through that downtrend. So a lot of that uncertainty here building in the market, helping these defensive sector type stocks show some bullishness. So watch those closely, and there's quite a list of those to be paying attention to that have those bullish moves all of a sudden. And part of that is where the institutions start rotating. They rotate out of some of the high flyers, meaning they sell, and then they pick up some more of that defensive area, those dividend yielding companies that give them a little bit of protection in the market. So watch them closely. Seeing some of the discounters in here as well, picking up on the retail side. Discounters like Dollar General picking up in here off this bottom, breaking through that 50-day moving average. I'd keep an eye on that. Dollar Tree has been up above that 50-day, trying to pick up here just a little bit and get a little bit going. I even saw this Kohl's that has been just beat down for a long time here. Kohl's even trying to get a little bit of buying coming in here. So we're seeing a little bit of that discounting type retail pick up just a little bit here. So watch those carefully. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here. Just a reminder, everyone, that I will be gone on Friday. There will be no morning market prep video on Friday this week or Monday of next week as I'm traveling. If there's anything you would like me to cover between now and then, please let me know. Y'all take care, be safe, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Wednesday morning. Take care, everyone.